I am the true daughter of the Prime Minister's family. When I returned, the fake daughter was already dead. She became everyone's ideal love, and I became her replacement. My parents searched for her likeness in me. My elder brother cursed, wishing it had been me who died. Even my husband, while with me in bed, called out her name. In the end, it seems I failed in my mission. Host, before I disappear, I can still fulfill your last wish. The last wish, I smiled, then let their white moonlight return. The system fell silent for a long time. Can't I? Didn't you say that Xie Yin wasn't actually dead? Since she isn't dead, it doesn't count as a wish that transcends life and death. It can be done. Tang Tang, are you sure? I don't want to argue anymore. I thought it would be the simplest task ever. Only need to receive even one heartfelt blessing from a family member on the 18th birthday, and the mission will be considered successful. Could change the outcome of my early death. But early this morning, as usual, my parents went to visit Xie Yin's grave. My elder brother, as always, ignored my letters. Before Wei Zun left the house, I grabbed his sleeve. Husband, today is my birthday. Can you say happy birthday to me? He stared at me for a moment, then impatiently swept me aside. Xie Tang, what are you on about? You know full well that today is a Yin's Memorial Day. What does Xie Yin's Memorial Day have to do with my birthday? I just wanted a simple happy birthday. After sharing a bed for 3 years, he wouldn't even give me those 4 simple words. I just wanted to see what Xie Yin looks like, what her character is like, to make them remember her so vividly. I am the biological daughter of my parents, the younger sister of my elder brother. I am Wei Zun's officially wedded wife, yet their hearts and eyes are filled only with Xie Yin. I want to see where exactly I have lost to her, before I die. Good. In the evening, my parents sent someone to call me over for dinner. The prime ministers and the generals are separated by only one wall. My parents often invite me back home for a meal. It's not that I missed that much. When I married into the Wei residence, all the clothing and jewelry in my dowry were things that Xie Yin had once cherished most, along with the maid and maidservants who came as part of the dowry. They were also from Xie Yin's side. They know how to please their masters. Every time I return to the Prime Minister's residence, I'm dressed up so that, except for my face, every bit of me looks like Xie Yin. My father and mother prepared a full table of Xie Yin's favorite dishes, crying out Tang Tang with his mouth, but thinking of Yin Yin in his heart. Boring, I'm tired today, so I won't be going. The old maid by my mother's side looked at me in surprise. Not surprising. This was probably the first time I refused my parents' request. But I am indeed tired. I spent the afternoon as favorites. She's going to come back soon. It's quite inappropriate to leave it with me. I also spent an hour writing the divorce document. Wei Zun belongs to her as well. Give it back to her. There's one more thing I didn't have time to do. The letter from Xie Yun. I should go retrieve it. He doesn't deserve it. Yet this time he was unexpectedly considerate. Before I had a chance to find him the next day, he came to me himself, angry. He kicked open my door. Xie Tang. What trick are you playing now? Xie Yun was born with a handsome appearance. When I first returned to the Prime Minister's residence, the maidservants around me would still flatter me. Miss, your face and eyes are simply identical to the young master's. They look like a real family. Later, I discovered that Xie Yun didn't like me at all, even hated me. I'll never say such things again. At this moment, flames of anger burned in his eyes. As if they would reduce me to ashes, I gave him a faint, distant look, but he grew even angrier. Don't make that innocent face. You deliberately went against mother's wishes today, didn't you? I did play a few tricks. After realizing that everyone in the mansion only saw me as a substitute for Xie Yin, I tried every possible way to make them happy. To win their favor, I wanted them to take a look at me, love me, just once. Is it wrong to want someone to love me? Is it wrong to want to live? If it's wrong, then why is it still wrong now that I no longer want to please them? A dense bitterness welled up in my heart. Then came a sharp pain. How quickly it came. I was bitten by a snake when I was young. Though treated, the poison could not be completely eradicated. The doctor once declared that I wouldn't live past 15. Before returning to Xie's residence, I suffered from heartache almost every night. Later, that voice claiming to be a system appeared. It said that as long as I completed the mission, I could detoxify and live a healthy life. Sure enough, the angina never returned after that. I lived 3 more years, but it came back. I clutched my chest, my back drenched in cold sweat. Xie Tang, don't try to fake it in front of me. I'm not Wei Zun, you can't fool me with this act. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. You truly have a sharp eye, brother. I deliberately made mother upset on Xie Yin's Memorial Day, deliberately acting weak in front of you. I lifted my chin more sharply than ever. What a pity. I'm still alive, such a hypocrite. Your wonderful sister, a Yin, died, die horribly disfigured, die in agony, die, crack. Suddenly, a slap, hard and sharp, struck my face. Xie Yun's face turned pale, staring in shock at his hand. A flicker of regret appeared in his eyes. He moved his lips, and I almost thought he was going to apologize. But he didn't. He pressed his lips together and placed that hand behind his back, looking down at me condescendingly. You shouldn't have used Ayin to provoke me. Turned and walked away. I lay down on the bed, my cheeks burning hot, closed my eyes, yet tears finally fell. I once longed so much for an older brother. Every time my adoptive father beat me and made me kneel in the yard, every time my adoptive mother scolded me and made me wash the entire family's clothes before going to sleep, I would think, if only I had an elder brother like the one in the next house, the Bai Dao family. An elder brother always dotes on his little sister. She would stop my parents from scolding me, and she couldn't bear to see me washing clothes in cold water during the bitter winter. Later, I indeed had an older brother, indeed, a distinguished and noble eldest brother, a top-ranking imperial scholar, but he doesn't love me, his sister, although I carefully inquired about his preferences, searching everywhere for ancient scores on his behalf, staying up night after night, restoring those ancient scores, then handing them to him one by one. He still wouldn't even glance at me. Still, when drunk, he would clutch my neck and ask, "Why isn't it you who died?" A sudden sigh echoed in my ear. Coolness slowly spread across my face. I told you this morning that today is a Yin's Memorial Day. Don't act foolishly. You still don't understand Xie Yun's temperament. I opened my eyes and saw Wei Zun sitting beside the bed. He obviously already knew what had just happened. Holding a bottle of ointment in his hand, "I'll accompany you back to the Xie family first thing tomorrow morning. Let him apologize to you." I got up from the couch, sneering. What kind of good person are you pretending to be here again? No one had ever told me, before I married Wei Zun, that he was Xie Yin's fiancé. I first met him in the backyard of the Xie mansion. I was hiding behind the reeds, wiping away my tears. I had followed mother back to the Xie mansion, brimming with joy, only to hear the terrible news before I even stepped through the gate. Xie Yin had burned herself to death. Mother fainted on the spot. My long-awaited elder brother drew his sword and pointed it at me. "It's all your fault. Why did you have to come back?" My father, whom I had never met, smashed teacup after teacup to the ground. The days since I was recognized as the real daughter were nothing like I had imagined. Wei Zun handed me a handkerchief and stayed with me silently all afternoon. As he was leaving, he pointed to the small gate in the backyard. "I live right next door. If you ever feel bored, you can come find me." Wei Zun was like a ray of light piercing through dark clouds. When the world around me was nothing but violent storms, he gave me my only safe haven. He taught me to read and write, stayed with me as I studied. He patiently explained to me every single one of those complicated inner courtyard rules. I was over the moon when the Wei family came to propose marriage. Without the love of my family, having Wei Zun was enough to make me content. Until our wedding night, he treated me gently, looked at me with deep affection. Yet when we reached the height of passion, he buried his face in the crook of my neck, overwhelmed by emotion. He whispered, "Yin Yin." It was like a bucket of ice-cold water, poured over me from head to toe, chilling me to the very bone. Do you know why Xie Yun was so angry he slapped me? I curled my lips into a malicious smile. I had always held out hope for Wei Zun. After all, he and Xie Yin had grown up together as childhood sweethearts. It was only natural that he couldn't forget her for a while. That's what I told myself to comfort my aching heart. If only I could be a thoughtful, obedient wife, a wife who loved him wholeheartedly. One day he would finally see me. But today, I no longer wished to be thoughtful. I said Xie Yin deserved to die, that her death was well earned, that she, Xie Tang. Wei Zun gritted his teeth and grabbed my hand tightly. See, Xie Yin was his forbidden spot. You couldn't mention her. Couldn't touch upon her. One word and his whole expression would change. What on earth is wrong with you today? Probably remembering he had already snapped at me once that morning. Wei Zun softened his tone again. You know how things are. Why must you keep bringing her up everywhere? Then wish me a happy birthday. There was still time. The day wasn't over yet. If only one of them had ever loved me even a little, if only someone would give me a sincere blessing, I could have kept on living. Wei Zun pressed his lips together, a cold glint flickering in his eyes. His meaning was crystal clear. On the day Xie Yin died, how dare you even dream of being happy? How were you even worthy of happiness? I felt the urge to laugh again. Husband, I really want to see what your face would look like if you knew. My voice caught in my throat. Host, you've forgotten again. This part of the plot was something I secretly told you. You can't say it out loud. Knew what? Wei Zun asked. Knew that Xie Yin wasn't dead. Knew why she had faked her death. The system had told me that once, when I was crying and burning paper money for Xie Yin, because of the suicide note Xie Yin had left behind, saying that now that her parents had found their real daughter, she, the fake one, shouldn't continue to occupy a place that wasn't hers. For a long time, I had felt so guilty, so utterly lost. Had my return cost someone her life? Then the system told me, Xie Yin isn't dead. She eloped with her lover. It said Xie Yin had fallen in love with a poor scholar, and she knew her family would never approve, but if she just ran away, she was afraid her father and Wei Zun would chase them relentlessly. So she took advantage of mother going to fetch me and father being away on official business, using me as an excuse to fake her death and escape. To make it look real, she had specifically chosen my birthday, saying, 15 years ago today, I owed my elder sister a debt. 15 years later today, I return it to her. I really wanted to see it, the look on Wei Zun's face, the man who loved her so deeply, so devotedly, the moment he found out the truth. Xie Tang. Probably because the mocking sneer on my face was far too obvious, Wei Zun's expression darkened, his mood turning sour once more. You are not worthy to mention Yin. He grabbed my chin, forcing me to look at him, and leaned in to kiss me. I struggled. But he pinned my shoulders down and pressed his legs against mine to hold me in place. I wrenched one hand free and, with all my strength, slapped him, returning the exact same slap Xie Yun had given me. Wei Zun stormed out in a fit of rage, just like Xie Yun. He was seeing this rebellious streak in me for the very first time. He dismissed all the servants around me and locked me up in my room. Madam is unwell and needs to rest quietly. I really was unwell, that day, before dawn even broke. The crushing pain in my chest flared up again. By evening, I coughed up a mouthful of blood. I asked the system how much longer I had left to live. My system had always been soft-hearted. Its reply came out in a voice thick with tears. I don't know either. Tang Tang, don't be sad. I wasn't sad. If before returning to the Prime Minister's mansion, I had been full of longing and hope for the days ahead. These past 3 years, over 1,000 days and nights, had worn all that hope away until nothing was left. I even felt a twinge of regret. If I had known it would end up like this, why did I ever take on this strategy mission? It would have been better to die when I was 15. Wei Zun locked me up for 7 days. Probably thinking I had learned my lesson, he condescended to come and open the door for me in person. I handed him the divorce papers directly, after I died. I didn't want to be buried in the Xie family ancestral tomb, much less the Wei family's graveyard. Wei Zun's lips turned pale as he stared at me coldly. In the end, he snatched the divorce papers from my hand without a word and stormed off, slamming the door behind him. After handing over the divorce papers, I had my servants send my dowry, which I had long since packed up, back to the Xie mansion. Mother thought I had quarreled with Wei Zun and sent people over several times to call me back for meals. I refused. Xie Yun also came twice. I ignored him just the same. He sneered through gritted teeth. We'll see how long you can keep up this tantrum. Another 7 days later, news came from next door. Madame Xie was in low spirits, plagued by nightmares every night. Xie Yun personally sent his servants to invite me over. As I left the Wei mansion, he looked down his nose at me, his expression arrogant and disdainful, beneath the coldness in his eyes. I could clearly see the undisguised schadenfreude. Xie Yun had every reason to be pleased with my misfortune. When mother was young, she had been bitten by a highly venomous Yunnan pit viper. Though the poison had been neutralized, it left her with a lingering frailty. Every time she had a nightmare, she would fall ill, running a high fever that wouldn't break. But the doctors said it was an illness of the heart. It could only be cured with a remedy for the heart. Mother's heartache, of course, was Xie Yin. Every nightmare was about Xie Yin, crying about her grievances, her unwillingness, crying that she was suffering in the underworld. Father had invited a Taoist priest to perform rituals to guide her spirit to peace, but the priest said it had to be me, the root cause of her death, who knelt and chanted scriptures to comfort the deceased spirit. So every time mother had a nightmare, it was actually my nightmare too. I had to kneel in that charred, blackened execution ground for 3 whole days and nights, 3 days and nights. I didn't even know if I would survive this time. Besides, I didn't want to curry favor with them anymore. I stood in front of the straw mat, my eyes lowered, refusing to kneel. Father smashed his teacup to the ground. How dare you defy me? Your mother gave birth to you and raised you. Is this how you repay her? I remained silent. Father flew into a greater rage and shouted for the steward to bring the family punishment tools. Wei Zun squeezed my hand gently, apologized to him. I turned my head to look at him. His dark eyes were filled with confidence, certain that I would submit. Apologize to me, and I'll speak up for you. I clenched my teeth, my hands trembling uncontrollably. Then I knelt down straight on the straw mat. Kneel then. The sooner I die, the sooner I'll be free from this suffering. I never wanted to lay eyes on any of these people ever again. Wei Zun hissed through his teeth, uttering the exact same words Xie Yun had said. We'll see how long you can keep up this tantrum. It was no wonder Xie Yun and Wei Zun were brothers who had grown up together. Both of them wanted to force me to back down, acting in perfect unison. In the past, even when I knelt, they never skipped my 3 daily meals. This time, probably on Xie Yun's orders, all I got for each meal was plain kanji. In the past, when night fell, Wei Zun would always dismiss the servants and let me rest for a few hours. This time, he and Xie Yun stood guard by my side, one on the left and one on the right, watching me like hawks all night long. They were both waiting for me to give in, waiting for me to beg for mercy. But I refused to do so. I chanted the scriptures meticulously, treating it as an early soul-cleansing ritual for myself. I knelt upright, my back straight. After a while, the pain simply numbed away. I tried to think of some happy memories, but I found that my short life had been utterly barren of joy. I had been swapped with another baby by my wet nurse the moment I was born. A few years later, she fell gravely ill and sold me to my adoptive parents. My adoptive parents treated me like a mule, working me to the bone. The only happiness I had ever known was occasionally helping Aunt Bitao next door with farm work. She had parents who loved her and an elder brother who doted on her. Every day, she would share a bowl of sweet soup with me. Then mother found me. It turned out that when the wet nurse was at her wit's end, she had gone to Xie Yin to beg for money, exposing the truth about the baby swap all those years ago. I had thought my days of suffering were finally over. I had carefully tried to please everyone around me. I didn't ask for much, just a tiny bit of warmth would have been enough. But it had all been nothing more than an illusion, a fleeting dream that vanished into thin air. I told you not to spoil her. Look at what she's become. Xie Yun's voice drifted over to me, muffled as if through a thick fog. Don't tell me you actually see her as Yin's replacement. Wei Zun let out a cold laugh. How could she ever compare to Yin? As if afraid I wouldn't hear him, Xie Yun sneered and raised his voice. All these years, she's shamelessly dressed herself up to look like Yin. Stealing her family, stealing her fiancé, and now she still has the nerve to put on such airs. So in their eyes, being used as a substitute was something I had deliberately chosen to do. Look at her, pale and gaunt. She's really gone all out with this pathetic act. Hengji, you haven't fallen for her tricks, have you? I wanted to touch my face, but found that my hands could no longer move. After my heart condition flared up again, I had indeed lost a lot of weight, pale and skinny. I must have looked terrible, Wei Zun scoffed again. He seemed to step closer to me. I'll give you one last chance, admit your mistake, Xie Tang, apologize, and husband, I lifted my eyes slowly. Have you signed the divorce papers yet? Wei Zun froze, rage surging across his face. He grabbed my hand without a second thought. Xie Tang, that's enough, you've gone too far. If Yin hadn't left this world, do you think I would have ever married you? You'd better. He never got to finish his harsh words. I could no longer hold on. The mouthful of blood I had been suppressing for 3 days burst forth from my lips with a violent cough. My body slid down uncontrollably, my strength completely drained. Tang, Tang Tang. What? Where did all this blood come from? Xie Tang, you're faking this, aren't you? How ridiculous. From the sound of their voices, I could detect a hint of panic in both of them. My body felt light as a feather. I didn't know who had lifted me into their arms. Almost at the same time, a voice brimming with joy echoed from outside, growing louder and louder as it approached. Young master, outside, outside. The eldest young lady is not dead. The eldest young lady is not dead. The system said Xie Yin had been planning to return anyway. It had just arranged a small accident to make her come back a little earlier. Xie Yin pawned her last golden hairpin on her way back. She ran into a flying bandit. Not only did she lose all her silver, but she was also scared out of her wits. She rushed home covered in cold sweat, only to catch her lover, who had claimed to be studying in seclusion, flirting with the young widow next door. She could no longer hold back her anger. Having lived a life of luxury and being spoiled rotten since childhood, she had once believed that love alone could sustain her even on plain water. Little did she know that the daily grind of life was full of hardships, and even the only thing she had cherished, his sincere affection, turned out to be a lie. That very night, she packed her bags and set off for the capital. When I woke up, there was no one by my side, but the front hall was bustling with noise. The faint sound of a woman's sobbing came through. Mother, father, I never imagined that Lianju would be so loyal. When the fire broke out, she pushed me out of the way. I hit my head at that time. When I woke up, I was already on the outskirts of the capital, and I had lost all my past memories. A few days ago, I had a dream. I dreamed of father's face, of my elder brother teaching me to play chess, of mother saying she missed me, my dear child. Mother suddenly let out a heart-wrenching cry. It was not hard to imagine that the two of them were hugging each other and weeping bitterly. This must be Xie Yin, then, the Xie Yin that everyone had been longing for. I stared calmly at the curtain above the bed. I listened as she cried with mother, then with father. After crying with father, she cried with Xie Yun. Finally, it was Wei Zun's turn. Brother Zun, I heard on my way to the capital, over these 3 years, you have already. Xie Yin's voice broke with sobs. Are you married? It seemed that Wei Zun did not answer. Xie Yin asked again. Where is my elder sister? I want to meet her. I finally met Xie Yin. In fact, I had seen her before. In Wei Zun's study, there was an entire cabinet filled with portraits of her standing gracefully with a smile, covering her face shyly, staring with a slight anger, all painted by his own hand, but none of the painted figures could compare to the living person standing before me. As soon as she entered the room, Xie Yin rushed to my bed. Elder sister, it's me, Yin. Yin is back. Brother Zun said you fainted from exhaustion after praying for me for too long. Xie Yin's eyes turned red. Elder sister, it's all Yin's fault for being so incompetent. If only I could have remembered earlier. Her voice caught in her throat, and tears streamed down her face. I stared at her quietly, and at everyone standing behind her. Mother was wiping her tears. Xie Yun's hands were trembling with excitement. Wei Zun stared straight at her, his face filled with deep affection and concern. Even father, who was always serious and unsmiling, fixed his heavy gaze on her trembling shoulders. I'm sorry, elder sister. I was being unreasonable before, almost failing to live up to the years of kindness and upbringing from father and mother, and I made you bear the stigma all these years. From now on, I will never be like this again. Will you forgive me? Elder sister, how nice. She still had a future. I did not. Xie Tang, Yin is crying. What are you staring at? Xie Yun snapped at me. I just opened my mouth when a fishy sweetness rose in my throat, and I coughed twice. Stop pretending, Xie Yun scoffed. Hengji just checked your pulse. You're perfectly fine. Is that so? I smiled. Elder sister is smiling. I knew it. Elder sister is beautiful and kind-hearted. You will definitely not blame me. Xie Yin's tears stopped, and she smiled through her tears, happily holding my hand. Elder sister, from now on, you will be my real elder sister, and I will be your real younger sister. Let's sisters work together, serve father and mother, and fulfill our filial duties by their sides. Will you? I pulled my hand away, then smiled and wiped the tears from her cheeks. Of course. In the next instant, I raised my hand and slapped her hard across the face. I raised my hand again and slapped her once more. I was about to raise my hand a third time when someone grabbed my wrist tightly. Mother, elder sister, Xie Tang, have you lost your mind? Yin. Let mother look at your face. Does it hurt? My prime minister's mansion has no place for such a rude woman. Where is the family discipline? Bring the family discipline. I did not get punished with the family discipline. Instead, I was locked up again. When Xie Yun and Wei Zun saw father's fury, they actually begged for mercy for me at the same time. They said that I had knelt for too long at the execution ground and had been possessed by an evil spirit. Father then ordered his servants to send me back to the boudoir where I had lived before getting married, telling them to let me rest well. Wei Zun did not mention taking me back to the Wei mansion. Perhaps he thought that begging for mercy on my behalf was already the greatest kindness he could show me. Or perhaps he did not want to. A small snow-white cat with bright blue eyes. I kept saying how much I liked it. You can call it Xiao Ju. The system's voice sounded a little shy. Tang. It will stay with you. Xiao Ju really stayed with me all the time. It was so well behaved. It lay softly and warmly by my side. Every time it got on the bed, it even knew to lick its paws clean first. I felt that life seemed to have regained some of its interest. After all, Xiao Ju was still young. I could not stay in bed all day. I had to take it out to sunbathe. Watching it pounce on flowers and chase butterflies in the sun, I felt as if I were free too. It was a very pleasant feeling. Xiao Ju was also very smart. It seemed to know who I did not like. When it saw those people, it would run away from them. Once, it even bared its teeth at Xie Yin. I almost suspected that it was actually my system in disguise. The system had told me before that it was actually a kind of spiritual entity from another world. After Xiao Ju arrived, the system never appeared again. Perhaps Xiao Ju was the system's real name. Thinking about this, I loved Xiao Ju even more. I carried it around the mansion all day long, never feeling tired. When mother saw that I looked a little more energetic, she seemed to breathe a sigh of relief and stopped pestering me with endless chatter. Father was still often not at home. Xie Yun scoffed. Finally can't keep up the pretense anymore. I ignored him. Half a month later, the news spread throughout the entire mansion. Their beloved eldest young lady, who had narrowly escaped death, was going to get married. Wei Zun was going to take her as his secondary wife of equal status. The first person to come to see me was still mother. Tang. Yin is already 18, past the age for marriage. Although she is not my biological daughter, I have raised her for so many years. And it was indeed she who had the initial marriage contract with Wei Zun. I agree. At that time, I was stroking Xiao Ju's ears. If he wants to marry her, and if she wants to marry him, let them. No need to ask for my opinion. The second person to come was Xie Yin. It seemed like she had come to test me, but also to show off. Elder sister, are you really not upset? Brother Zun said that he will not skimp on any of the 3 matchmakers and 6 wedding rituals. He said that the wedding will be even more grand than yours was. I smiled. I wish you both a happy marriage that lasts 100 years, and may you love each other until your hair turns white. The third person was Wei Zun. To my surprise, he seemed a little angry. Tang, you are not making a scene. I looked at him in confusion. Why should I make a scene? I promised you that in this life, you would be my only one. I would not take any concubines. Nor, I let out a cold laugh. He still remembered that promise. I had thought that when he said those words, he had mistaken me for Xie Yin, and that he had been saying them to Xie Yin. I am dying. Why would I care about such things? Xie Tang. Wei Zun snapped. I checked your pulse myself. Stop talking nonsense. I shook off his hand. Wei Zun reached out to pull me again. Xiao Ju rushed over and bit him. Xie Yun did not come to see me, but I went to see him. When I found him, he was repairing a qin. The setting sun shone on his profile, making him look elegant and charming. He was truly born with a handsome face. Elder brother, Wei Zun is going to marry Xie Yin. I held Xiao Ju in my arms and leaned against the doorframe. I heard that you and Wei Zun not only grew up together, but also served at the border for several years. You are the best of brothers. Do you also think that it is okay for Wei Zun to marry Xie Yin? It was rare to see Xie Yun's expression change. Xie Tang, what are you getting at? I smiled and walked away. Still holding Xiao Ju in my arms, I did not want to have anything to do with any of their affairs. I just wanted to watch the drama unfold, but on second thought, it was not worth wasting my time on them just to watch some excitement. My health seemed to have improved a little. It seemed that I might live longer than I had expected. It was unlikely that Wei Zun would ever give me a divorce letter, but I had long since prepared a complete set of household registration documents and travel permits. Leaving during Wei Zun and Xie Yin's grand wedding, taking Xiao Ju to see the wonderful world outside, this was the perfect plan. But things in the world never go as planned. I tried my best to avoid them. The news that Wei Zun was going to marry Xie Yin spread throughout the entire capital in a grand manner. Even the servants of the Prime Minister's mansion were mocking me behind my back. I did not care. Xie Yin's dowry consisted of hundreds of carrying poles, twice as many as mine had been when I got married. She often accidentally showed off in front of me. I did not care. A cacophony of voices buzzed in my ears. I seemed to hear Wei Zun's. How could she possibly be dying? She was perfectly fine just a few days ago. Quacks, get out of here. All of you are nothing but quacks. And Xie Yun's. Didn't you say the blood she coughed up last time was just because I fed her plain kanji for 3 days, because she was starving? Haven't you been the one feeling her pulse all these days? Do you want to kill my sister? And mothers? My poor child, how did you end up like this? You've been this gravely ill, why didn't you tell mother? And Xie Yin's too. Sister, Lian Yu was killed by Master Wei himself. It really had nothing to do with me. I was supposed to get married the next day. Why would I curse myself with such bad luck? Then there was more shouting, more chaos, sounds of Wei Zun and Xie Yin arguing. Zun Gij, I just took the wrong path and got tricked by someone. Didn't you say you loved me for my pure and kind heart? I was afraid you'd be sad. I didn't fake my death on purpose. Slap, a sharp crack of a palm against skin. Then Xie Yun and Xie Yin. If you hadn't painted the Wei family as such a terrible place back then, would I have ever thought of such a rotten trick? Brother, why do I have to take the blame for everything? I slap, another stinging blow, and then Wei Zun and Xie Yun, their voices rising in rage. I trusted you like a brother. How dare you lie to me for 3 whole years? The entire Xie family lied to me for 3 years, and you just stood by and watched me marry Xie Yin again. Is this how you repay my brotherhood? It sounded like they had started fighting right there in the room. I drifted in and out of consciousness, my mind muddled, the noise around me grating beyond endurance. I called out to the system instinctively. No response came. Tears trickled down my cheeks, hot and bitter. Tang Tang, Tong Tong's awake. Tang Tang, open your eyes. I pried my eyes open, but there wasn't a single face in sight that I wanted to see. I rolled over and closed my eyes again. A short while later, a doctor came in and felt my pulse with a solemn expression. Miss Xie is indeed suffering from the venom of a Yunnan pit viper, and it has been festering in her body for many years. It is nothing short of a miracle that she has lived this long. As for wanting to recover further, alas. Silence descended over the room. Someone asked softly, after a long while, Tang Tang, you were so young back then. Where did you get bitten by the viper? I buried my face in the quilt. I didn't want to talk. I just wanted to sleep. It seemed that Xie Yin had been driven out of the house. I heard the maids whispering outside the door, half asleep. So she's actually the wet nurse's daughter. No wonder she's got that seductive air about her. She doesn't look a thing like the master or the mistress. Eloping with someone at such a young age and then daring to come back and marry Master Wei. If it weren't for our young lady's sake, Master Wei would definitely have severed all ties with the Xie family. What about that scholar? Did they let him go? How could they? Master Wei found an excuse to throw him in jail. I heard they locked him in a cage filled with feral cats. TSK. I thought of my little Jew again. I wondered if anyone had buried him properly. In the afternoon, Wei Zun came to see me specifically. I buried Li Nu under the peach tree outside your courtyard. He said, he'll stay with you forever. He also brought a plate of Osmanthus cake. Rarely enough, it was a pastry he remembered, one that wasn't Xie Yin's favorite, but I didn't need it anymore. Not long ago, as soon as Wei Zun left in the evening, Xie Yun came. He used to call me Xie Tang through and through. Now, surprisingly, he called me sister. He had brought his guqin with him. He sat in front of me and opened the music scores he had never once bothered to look at before. With each envelope he opened, his eyes turned a little redder. He knew exactly how much time and effort it had taken to find those ancient scores, to restore them. I didn't know. I thought they were just letters. I had sealed them in envelopes to throw people off the scent, to save him from being scolded by father, who would have thought he hadn't opened a single one. I'm sorry. I closed my eyes and turned away. He fell silent immediately. Instead, he plucked the strings of his guqin. I pulled the quilt over my head. He stopped playing at once and left dejectedly. Later came mother and father. Mother didn't ramble on anymore. She just sat by my bed and wiped away her tears. Father had always been a quiet man. He stared at me from afar, looking much older than his years. I didn't understand why they had all changed so much. Was it because they knew I was dying? When you're about to die, you suddenly become a precious commodity. How ridiculous. I didn't have much strength left. I couldn't stop them from coming, as they visited more often. They started talking to me. I didn't respond, so they talked to themselves. Wei Zun said he loved me, recalling every happy moment we had shared, one by one. Xie Yun said he had always regarded me as his sister. I couldn't face the fact that I had driven Xie Yin to burn herself alive. Mother said there had been a reason for her silence all these years. She had a past with that scholar. It wasn't something we could make public, if word got out. What would happen to your brother's official career? Father just sighed. Tang, the head of a family must always put the greater good first. They all had their reasons. They all wanted me to forgive them. One night, by chance, everyone was there. And by another chance, I was feeling quite alert. You want my forgiveness, don't you? I hadn't spoken in a long time. At my words, everyone's eyes lit up with hope. I pulled the dagger hidden under my pillow and threw it on the floor. Come on then. The first one to die, I'll forgive them first. Naturally, no one was willing to die. Finally, they realized they were unwelcome. They came less often. Only Wei Zun remained, just like before. In fact, he came even more frequently than ever. Most of the time, when I woke up from a deep sleep, I would find him lying on the edge of my bed. His eyes were always red, as if losing me would be the end of the world for him. But clearly, just a few months ago, he hadn't even been willing to spend my birthday with me. One day, I said to him deliberately, Wei Zun, I could have survived. That day, if you had just said happy birthday, I could have survived. I didn't think he would believe me. But suddenly, he went mad with grief. He bought the entire house full of rabbit lanterns. A month before my birthday, I had told him I wanted a rabbit lantern. Husband, on the 8th day of next month, will you give me a rabbit lantern? He had agreed. I had thought that when he gave me the lantern, he would naturally say happy birthday. But he hadn't. No rabbit lantern, no happy birthday. Wei Zun lit up all the rabbit lanterns. Tang, you have to live. I'll spend every birthday with you from now on. Okay, how ridiculous. As if anyone didn't want to live, I didn't bother to answer him. So he started talking again. Tang, do you still remember the first time we met? Tang, do you remember our wedding night? You were waiting by the bridal bed, and Tang, I admit it, at first, I saw you as a replacement for Xie Yin. We had grown up together for over a decade. But it was so annoying. So utterly tedious, I struggled to roll over and face him. Then why don't you go die with her? I stared at him coldly. If you love her that much, go die together. Why do you need a replacement? It's nothing more than cowardice, too afraid to die, too greedy to let go of the Prime Minister's power. Yet still putting on this show of deep affection to move yourself. Over a decade of childhood friendship amounts to nothing more than this. What chance did our 3 years of marriage ever stand? Wei Zun, stop pretending, you disgust me. Wei Zun's face turned deathly pale. After that, Wei Zun didn't come around much either. Good, finally, my world was quiet. I began to slip into longer and longer sleeps, unable to wake up. I could barely eat anything, and I no longer felt any pain. But there was one thing I still remembered. Taking advantage of a moment of clarity, I said to Mother, who was sitting by my bed, I want the divorce papers. I would not be a ghost of the Wei family even in death. This time, Wei Zun didn't hesitate. He sent the papers over quickly. Only his hands were trembling slightly when he handed them to me. I looked at the signature on the papers, a sense of contentment washing over me, and tucked them under my pillow. Then I drifted off to sleep again. When I woke up next, Mother said joyfully that Wei Zun had heard of a folk remedy for Yunnan pit viper venom and had rushed off to get it with Xieyun, riding day and night. The third time I woke up, my mind was remarkably clear. I thought of one last thing. I said to Mother, Mother, when I die, I don't want to be buried in the Xie family ancestral tomb. Mother froze. Why? If you're not buried in the ancestral tomb, no, don't say such unlucky things. Just go back to sleep. Darling, wait for Yuna to come back, and everything will be alright. I was feeling quite alert, staring at Mother calmly. Mother, do you know where I got this Yunnan pit viper venom from? Mother froze again. I looked at her and smiled. When I was 7 years old, in Lin City, a noble lady was accidentally bitten by a Yunnan pit viper. The bite was on her thigh. My gaze flickered to Mother's right leg. It was an awkward spot. They couldn't find a female doctor in time. So they offered a huge sum of money to find a young girl from the slums who was willing to risk her life. 30 taels of silver. My adoptive parents sold me to them for 30 taels. I pointed gently at the jade pendant hanging at Mother's waist. Mother, the first time I saw you, I recognized you. 22. I have to say, fate between people is truly a strange and wonderful thing. Mother just had to get bitten by a viper in Lin City, and I just had to be the one to suck the poison out of her. I still remember it was a sweltering summer day. It was the first time I had ever ridden in such a luxurious carriage, the first time I had ever seen such an elegant and graceful lady. I didn't dare to look up at her for too long. I just stared at the jade pendant at her waist. It was so beautiful, just like her. I knelt there, sucking the venom out of her wound, over and over again, with my mouth. Everyone around knew I would die from it. I didn't. On the way back, my adoptive parents bought me a bunch of candied hawthorns with a single copper coin. I was over the moon with joy. I told them excitedly how beautiful and noble the lady I had met that day was. When I saw her again later, I thought it was a blessing bestowed by the heavens. I had actually saved my own birth mother. And besides, it was such a simple strategy mission. I was certain I could complete it easily. Mother stared at me in shock, her face flushing red and then turning pale. Over and over again, for a long time, she couldn't utter a single word. I already sent my dowry back to the Prime Minister's mansion. I pulled a stack of banknotes out from under my pillow. This is all the money I've saved over the years. Mother, I've repaid you for the gift of life. And for the years of raising me. Mother let out a sudden, heart-wrenching scream and collapsed into my arms, sobbing uncontrollably. I don't remember the exact day I died. My body grew lighter and lighter, and the moments of clarity grew shorter and shorter. Every time I woke up, I would hear Mother weeping softly by my bed. Tang Tang, hold on a little longer. Tang Tang, Yuna and Wei Zun are on their way back. But I didn't want to see them at all. I sank into a long, empty dream. My entire life flashed before my eyes like a fleeting shadow. In the end, I probably died at the happiest moment of my life. Mother found me, hugged me tightly, and cried, "My baby, Mother has been looking for you for so long." Then she took me into the carriage, helped me change into new clothes, bought me jewelry, applied rouge to my cheeks. She told me how brilliant and accomplished my father was, both in literary talent and martial strategy, and how handsome and graceful my elder brother was. Dizzy with anticipation, I followed her back to the capital. When we stopped to rest, I sneaked into a small shop. I emptied every last coin I had on me to buy gifts for father and brother. The carriage rumbled forward, on and on it went until night fell. My palms were soaked with sweat. My heart pounding so hard it felt like it would leap out of my chest. In the distance, I caught sight of the plaque that read Prime Minister's Mansion, and the bright stars shining above it. I thought to myself I was finally going home, side story ***. After I died, my consciousness did not dissipate right away. Perhaps it was because Mother had scattered my ashes to the wind. I became a wandering spirit, drifting aimlessly through the capital for a long time. In the first month after my death, the Xie and Wei families fell out completely. Wei Zun, together with his father, kept finding trouble for the Xie family. Father was plagued by their harassment. Yet he had no choice but to fight back every step of the way. Mother stayed at home, quarreling with him relentlessly. She accused him of knowing all along that Xie Yin was still alive, yet never breathing a word of it to anyone. In the second month after my death, Xie Yin knelt at the gate of the Prime Minister's mansion. No one paid her any attention. Mother, who had doted on her the most in the past, ordered a basin of cold water to be brought and poured it over her from head to toe. Then she drove her away. Not long after, Mother asked Xie Yun to accompany her on a trip south. She seemed to be harboring a rage that she could not vent. First, she went to find Xie Yin's birth mother, the wet nurse who had given birth to her all those years ago, but the wet nurse had already passed away from a serious illness. Then she went to find my adoptive parents. Yuna, they abused her. They abused my Tang Tang. I have to avenge her. My adoptive parents thought she had come to deliver silver again, just like she had before. They welcomed her with open arms and treated her to a feast. But their joy was short-lived. They were soon thrown into prison. The gentle and soft-spoken mother I had always known somehow found a way to make them scream and beg for mercy behind bars. When she returned home, however, father had also been imprisoned. Xie Yun went to see Wei Zun. Why are you being so ruthless, showing no mercy at all? Wei Zun let out a cold laugh. Did you show me any mercy when you tricked me into marrying Xie Yin? Xie Yun flew into a rage. If you had never wanted to marry her, who could have forced you? Don't you remember who it was who was so preoccupied with fooling around with her that he didn't even bother to properly check Tang Tang's pulse? If only you had noticed earlier, if only you had detected the snake venom in her body just a little bit sooner. The color drained from Wei Zun's face in an instant, leaving it ashen and gaunt. The folk remedy they had finally found actually worked. Unfortunately, it was too late. By the time they rushed back with it, all that was left of me was a jar of ashes. Wei Zun took to drinking heavily. He drank himself into a stupor every single day. The entire cabinet in his study that had once been filled with portraits of Xie Yin was replaced with portraits of me. The name Yin Yin that had always been on his lips turned into Tang Tang. I understood. Some people were just born to be fools. The one they could never have was always the best one. Father was dismissed from his official post and planned to return to his hometown to spend his remaining years in retirement. Mother fell ill. Every night, she was tormented by nightmares, crying out that I was suffering in the underworld, but I was actually doing just fine, happier than I had ever been when I was alive. Only this time, no one was left to kneel in the Buddhist hall for her, chanting scriptures day and night. With no other choice, Father ordered Xie Yun to take my place. Xie Yun knelt there for 7 days and 7 nights, without stopping for a single moment. On the third day, I realized that Mother was faking her illness. It seemed that Mother had found a new source of amusement. She began to torture Xie Yun in every way she could think of. Xie Yun was helpless. Yet he had to admit that Mother's mental state seemed to have taken a turn for the worse. One day, Mother suddenly asked Xie Yun, "Do you know where Tang Tang got that Yunnan snake venom from?" Xie Yun had not been at home when I had mentioned it, so of course he had no idea. Ling City, 30 taels of silver. A 7-year-old child. Mother suddenly smiled. "Yuna, do you remember Tang Tang mentioning Ling City once?" "Yes, I did. I had taken the initiative to bring it up once." When Mother and Xie Yun were talking about the time she had been poisoned by Yunnan snake venom years ago, I had said, "Mother, I also stayed in Ling City once." But before I could finish my sentence, Xie Yun cut me off with a cold laugh. "Don't tell me you're going to claim that you were the child who saved Mother by curing her of the poison." My mouth hung open. And I fell silent abruptly. No one would have believed me anyway, after I had accepted the strategy mission. The symptoms of the poison in my body had disappeared without a trace. The realization clearly dawned on Xie as well, the blood draining from his face, leaving it deathly pale. Mother suddenly pulled the hairpin out of her hair and stabbed at him fiercely with it. That handsome face of Xie was ruined forever. Father took Mother back to the countryside with him. Not long after, Xie volunteered to be stationed at the border. Only Wei Zun was left in the capital. One day, after finishing his official duties, he was accosted by a woman who threw herself at his feet, begging for money. He kicked her away in disgust, but then he realized that the beggar woman was actually his childhood sweetheart from so many years ago. He froze there for a long time, rooted to the spot. Then he turned around and walked away, without looking back even once. A month later, he also left for the border. He and Xie became bitter rivals. Unlike before, when they had only held civil positions, the two of them now began to truly train soldiers and lead troops into battle. In the 9th month, news arrived from our hometown. The old family mansion had caught fire in the middle of the night. No one had survived. No one ever found out whether it had been an accident or a deliberate act. Xie broke down and cried bitterly. Then he fell seriously ill. After he recovered, he was no longer the same person he used to be. On the battlefield, he fought like a man possessed, cutting down anyone who stood in his way, and winning numerous military merits for himself. The last time I saw them was on the battlefield in Yu City. The barbarian tribes had launched an invasion, and Wei Zun and Xie were leading their troops to fight them off. The battle was raging fiercely when Wei Zun's attention suddenly wandered, amidst the chaos of charging warhorses. He spotted a little girl standing there, crying in terror. The rabbit lantern in her hand swayed back and forth, the flickering light almost dazzling his eyes. Hengji, Xie shouted at the top of his lungs. Almost at the same moment, a spear pierced Wei Zun's shoulder. Wei Zun tumbled off his horse and shielded the little girl holding the rabbit lantern with his own body. A warhorse in front of them went berserk, rearing up and raising its hooves high. Just then, I heard a familiar voice calling out, "Tang Tang, Tang Tang, what are you doing here? I've been looking everywhere for you." I turned around and saw a bright white spot of light floating in front of me. I did not recognize its appearance, but I recognized its voice instantly. It was my system. You're not dead." "What do you mean dead or alive? How unlucky. When did I ever die?" "Xiaoju. Who told you I was Xiaoju? I just asked it to stay with you for a while, that's all." "But I was out earning points. Finally earned enough. Come on, I'm taking you away." I did not look back. I never found out what happened to Wei Zun and Xie in the end. All I knew was that tears of joy kept streaming down my face, tears of reunion after such a long, long time apart. The next moment, slap. Someone slapped me lightly, and I burst into tears. Everything around me blurred into a soft haze. A person dressed in strange clothes leaned over and exclaimed excitedly, "It's a little sister. A little sister, come quickly, you're going to be an older brother now. Sister, sister." A tiny little boy ran over and hugged me tightly, planting a slobbery kiss on my cheek. His saliva smothered my face. "Xiaoju, look, a little sister." The little boy's childish voice rang out as he carried me over to a cat. "Kitty, kitty." The little boy seemed to be trying to teach me how to talk, repeating over and over, "Xiaoju, Xiaoju." The cat took 2 steps forward. Its fur was pure white all over. Its eyes a bright, vivid blue. It rubbed its soft head against my cheek. "Meow Tilda."